We're going to take a deep look inside the Chris Williamson podcast when he has an episode here with Eric Weinstein.
I did some research.
Yeah.
Tech company employee donations to midterm candidates by party, well over 90% in favor of Democrat. There is a 33% gap between Republicans and Democrats in self-described party affiliations of U.S. journalists in 2022. And there was this recent Google furor, they're being popped for monopoly, unfair competition practices.
Sure.
On top of, are they putting their finger on the scale and editorializing? If you search for Donald Trump's name, you get negative stories about Donald Trump and positive stories about Kamala Harris. If you search Kamala Harris's name, you just get positive stories about Kamala Harris.
Okay, but how many?
Let me sure. Let me keep going. So, I'm not saying that Google isn't, but I don't think that Google needs to editorialize the search results if there is such an unbalanced original content pool that they're pulling from. If you have this huge sway in terms of tech, if you have this huge sway in terms of the people that are writing the articles, I don't think you need Google to put their finger on the pulse. It's 90% in one direction. If you take from that pool representatively, it's going to move in that direction.
So that you've now once again evidenced the same basic idea, which is we'll just chalk it up to emergence. These are all emergent effects. That way you never have to posit intent. You never have to say that there's a finger on the scale. Great, you're out of it. Well done. That's insane, Chris.
I pulled the ripcord and got out of it. So here's the thing that I thought that was really interesting.
Wait. But I want to understand something. Mm-hmm. How do you think you get to these levels of bias among employees? Do you think that something about being in tech makes you Democrat friendly?
I think my working hypothesis is that it's cowardice.
Say more.
In order to keep your job, you need to toe the party line, and the party line is somehow dictated top-down, not bottom-up.
Maybe it's emergent from the Great Society programs of the 1960s. Maybe the idea that the hiring practices, not being allowed to discriminate in various ways, and the interpretation through the courts, means that the HR departments have to do things that make it impossible to be almost impossible to be a vocal Republican in a large workplace.
So one of the interesting things about that graph, the 33% gap between Democrats and Republicans, if you go to about 1970 is when it really begins to diverge. But what you also see is that self-described independents move at almost the exact same rate as Republicans going down. So you get a bit of a gain for Democrats, a large loss for Republicans, and also a gain for independents. So how many of these people are Republicans masquerading as independents when they do their self-report? What if it gets picked up by my colleagues?
This is Timur Kuran's theory of preference falsification, that you have two sets of preferences. You have the preferences that you keep at home and the preferences that you show the world. And this is the engine of revolution, because there's always one guy like a James Damore working at Google who's so autistic that he's going to spectrum himself right out of the workplace and say what he actually thinks.
Doesn't see the social mores that he's supposed to adhere to.
So in my estimation, the reason for this is not actually what Chris Williamson thinks. And I'm not sure whether Eric Weinstein agrees with him or not, but he actually didn't push back. So Eric Weinstein's opinion on the topic at hand is kind of not understood, but although he did show some signs of agreement. In my book, Leftism, The Mental Illnesses of the Left, I clearly talk about this topic explicitly. It's not about the high correlation of tech individuals with elitism. It's not about the left being cowardice. It's not even about Silicon Valley and Google's influence in the whole government industrial complex. What it is about is the correlation with the particular personality traits of people who are in the tech industry and the creative types that are correlated with these sorts of behaviors. They talk about later on how the creative type, specifically of James Damore, for example, is so intellectually engulfed in his creative autistic type, he totes the line of non-outspoken liberal. is something Eric Weinstein said. I tend to disagree with this preeminently as well. See, highly creative type individuals, ones that would engage or be a part of the tech industry in some way, shape, or form, have certain personality traits called high openness. This has been well talked about by Jordan Peterson and documented in clinical literature and scientific literature with multiple citations into the thousands, and as well as cited in my book. As individuals with high openness, for example, tend to essentially always correlate with ideologies that are founded upon left-leaning perspectives. And since they have high openness, left-leaning individuals correlate with a political philosophy that is directly engulfed into the democratic machine. The idea is that it's correlated with some type of cowardice to elitism is not exactly true as well. Not bending at the knee on the fact that the Democratic Party is so ubiquitously powerful in Western society is not the exact answer. What they are folding to is the fact that they believe in the Democratic Party's philosophy over-encompassingly in regards to what aspects they disagree with. This alone does not change the political perspective that they hold on the left. So the combination of collectivism or tribalistic proclivities to side with and or your political party unequivocally, this does occur with the personality proclivity of openness, which is highly correlated and associated with an inheritance to the left-leaning perspectives and ideologies that cause them to be dogmatic and pontificate perspectives with that of left-leaning parties and philosophical perspectives. So again, my book, Leftism, The Mental Illnesses of the Political Left, explicitly, in a nomological manner, goes directly and deep into all of these different topics. And at full, long-form conversation, I can explain these things at length and different things I believe that I'm explaining better than anybody in this particular sphere. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me hear what you think in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe. And without further ado, I'll see you on the next video.